Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Theruvan Saranai. Good evening, Venerable Mahāsangha, Sales, and brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today we'll be moving on to a new Matika, Vitakka Tika, the initial application triplet. So first we will look at the three terms of the Vitakka Tika. The first term is savitakkasavicārā dhammā, states associated with initial and sustained application of the mind. The second term, avitakkaavicāramattā dhammā, states not associated with initial application of the mind, but merely with sustained application of the mind. And the third term, avitakkavicārā dhammā, states that are not associated with both initial or sustained application of the mind. Let's look at the first term, savitakkasavicārā dhammā, states associated with initial and sustained application of the mind. So the commentary, Atthasālinī, gives a description. And here what they say is basically, there are two mental factors involved here, vitakka and vichara. So if a certain dhamma, ultimate reality, is associated with vitakka and at the same time associated with vichara, then that dhamma is called savitakkasavicārā dhammā. The word savitakkasavicārā is basically formed by combining two words, savitakka and savicārā. And here, savitakka means with initial application. So the prefix sa has been added to vitakka to give the meaning with vitakka or with initial application of the mind. Similarly, the prefix sa has been added to vichara to give the meaning with sustained application of the mind. And putting the two words together gives the meaning with both initial application and sustained application of the mind. Now we will look at the Nikkepa Khandang, the summary section description of savitakkasavicārā dhammā. Katame dhammā savitakkasavicārā, which are the states that are associated with both initial and sustained application of the mind. Savitakkasavicārā bhūmiyā. Now this word bhumi we described when we were talking about the Vedana Tika, the feeling triplet. It is with reference to the consciousness. So savitakkasavicārā bhūmiyā means arising in the soil with initial and sustained application of the mind. And what are these? The kāmāvacara, rūpāvacara, and apariyāpana, the sense sphere, fine material sphere, and unincluded spheres. Vitakka vicāre tapetva, excluding initial and sustained application of the mind. That means excluding the two mental factors, vitakka and vichara. Tam sampayutto vedanakkhandho, saññakkhandho, saṅkhārakkhandho, viññānakkhandho, associated therewith the aggregates of feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. And these are the states that are associated with initial and sustained application of the mind. Now the question arises, why are vitakka and vichara excluded from this term? Now we mentioned vitakka vichara tapetva, which means it's not considered under this term. So let's look at the reason as to why that happens. Now on the left, I have given a little diagram. We have taken the vitakka and vichara out. They are mental factors of the savitakkasavicārā dhammā, and I've put the other the consciousness and the remaining mental factors in the bottom oval. So basically, if you look at the vitakka is associated with vichara. However, there isn't another vitakka for it to be associated with. Therefore, we can't call it savitakka. That vitakka cetasika cannot be called savitakka because there isn't another vitakka for it to be associated with. So it will be avitakka. However, since there is a vichara for it to be associated with, we can call it avitakkaavicāramattā. Similarly, when you take vichara, because there is only one vichara in each consciousness, there isn't another vichara for it to be associated with. So vichara has a vitakka to be associated with, but no vichara. So we can call it savitakkasavicārā. So the vichara will be described as savitakkavicārā, and the vitakka will be described as avitakkavicāramattā. And now we will look at the Atthasālinī, the commentary chapter description of the first term. Dhammasaṅgaṇī, which are the states that are associated with initial and sustained application of the mind. Kāmāvacaraṅ kusalaṅ, the sense sphere wholesome. Akusalaṅ, unwholesome. Kāmāvacara kusalasa vipākato ekādasa chittuppādā, the 11th sense sphere, wholesome resultant risings of consciousness. Akusalasa vipākato dve, the two unwholesome resultants. Kiriyato ekādasa, 11 functionals. Rūpāvacaraṅ paṭamaṅ jhāna kusalato cha vipākato cha kiriyato cha, the first jhana wholesome resultant and functionals of the fine material sphere. And similarly, the first jhana wholesome and resultants of the supramundane sphere. Ettuppanne vitakkavicārē tapetva, except initial and sustained application of the mind arising therewith. These are the states that are associated with initial and sustained application of the mind. This is a chart which gives in pink the savitakkasavicārā consciousness. Now, we mentioned a few different sections from the Kāmāvacara, Rūpāvacara, and Lokuttara. Now, let's look at them individually. Under akusala, all 12 akusala are with vitakka and vichara. Therefore, all 12 akusala are taken into account. However, when it comes to the ahetuka, the rootless consciousness, only 8 are taken. Because if you look at this first akusala vipaka, the first 5 chitta are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body consciousness. They contain only the universal mental factors. They don't have vitakka and vichara. So those 5 are excluded from this term. And similarly, under ahetuka kusala vipaka, the first 5 again are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body consciousness. These again have got only the 7 universal factors. Therefore, 10 consciousness are excluded from this term. And under sobana, the beautiful consciousness, all 24 are with vitakka and vichara. Therefore, we take all 24. And then under the fine material sphere, the Rūpāvacara chitta, we take only the first jhana. So 1 kusala, 1 vipaka, and 1 kriya. Because from the second jhana onwards, we get reducing number of jhana factors. So for instance, if you take the second jhana, it doesn't have vitakka. It only has vichara. Therefore, it can't be classified under with vitakka and vichara. So we take only the first jhana. Similarly, in the supramundane, the Lokuttara, we take only the first jhana, magga. So we get 4 chitta. And how do we get 4? It is the sotapatti, sakadagami, anagami, and arihat, first jhana. Similarly, you get 4 first jhana, phala chitta. And that is how we get the 55 savitakkasavicārā consciousness. Now, this is a summary table that gives all the ultimate realities that are classified under savitakkasavicārā dhammā. So first we'll take the kāmāvacara, the sense sphere dhammā. Here we get 44 consciousness. We get all 12 akusala. We get 8 rootless, because we mentioned before, we don't get the 10 eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body consciousness of both the akusala vipaka and the ahetuka kusala vipaka. So when you take away those 10 from 18, we are left with 8. And we get all 24 sobana, beautiful consciousness. Then under rupavachara, we get only 3 because we take only the first jhana. So first jhana, kusala, vipaka, and kriya. And under lokuttara, supramundane, we get 8 consciousness. The first jhana, magga, we get 4 there and 4 phala consciousness. And chetasika, we get 50. Now, note that we have both kusala and akusala. Therefore, we get 52. However, because we are excluding vitakka and vichara, we deduct those 2 and we are left with 50. Now, you must be wondering why there is no arupavachara chitta. That is because all arupavachara chitta are 5th jhana consciousness. And all 5th jhana consciousness are upekka ekaggata chitta. That means they do not have vitakka and vichara. For that reason, they cannot be classified under this term. Now we move to the second term, avitakkaavicāramattā dhammā, states not associated with initial application of the mind, but merely with sustained application of the mind. Now, in this term, what is meant is that the ultimate realities are not associated with vitakka. Therefore, it is termed avitakka. However, it is associated with vichara. Therefore, it is called avitakkaavicāramattā. And the kind of consciousness and mental factors that we get here are basically the second jhana. Now, if you think about this, the first jhana, we had all 5 jhana factors: vitakka, vichara, pīti, sukha, ekaggata. By the time we come to the second jhana, we drop the vitakka and we are left with only vichara, pīti, sukha, ekaggata. When we move on to the third jhana, we drop the vichara as well. So what we get here would be the ultimate realities in relation to the second jhana. Now again, the word avitakkaavicāramattā is formed by combining 2 words, avitakka and vicāramattā. The word avitakka means without initial application of the mind. So basically, the prefix a has been added to vitakka to give the negative sense or the meaning without. And vicāramattā means merely with sustained application of the mind. So putting the 2 words together, we get avitakkavicāramattā, which gives the meaning without initial application of the mind, but merely with sustained application of the mind. We now move on to the Nikebakandam description. Katame dhammā avitakkavicāramattā. Which are the states that are not associated with initial application of the mind, but merely with sustained application of the mind. Avitakkavicāramattā bhūmiyā, arising in soil without initial application, but with sustained application of the mind. Rupavachare apariyapanne. These are found in 2 spheres, the fine material sphere and unincluded or supramundane spheres. Vichara tapetva, excluding sustained application of the mind. tam sampayutto vedanakkhandho, sanyakkhandho, sankarakkhandho, viññānakkhandho, associated with the four aggregates of feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. Ime dhamma avitakkavicāramattā. These are the states that are not associated with initial application of the mind, but merely with sustained application of the mind. Now here it was mentioned that vichara is not considered. It was mentioned ettuppanna vicharan tapetva, except sustained application of the mind. Why is vichara removed? Now, this is similar to the previous description that we gave under savitakkasavicārā dhammā. So basically, each vichara of these 11 avitakkavicāramattā consciousness is not associated with vitakka. Therefore, it is avitakka. However, because each consciousness has only one vichara, there isn't another vichara for this mental factor to be associated with. Therefore, we can't call it savichāra. So how we can describe this vichara mental factor is as avitakkaavicārā. And therefore, because it is not avitakkavicāramattā, we can't classify it under this term. That is why we exclude all the 11 vichara from the second term. Now let's look at the commentary chapter, the Atthasālinī description. Katame dhamma avitakkavicāramattā. Rūpāvachara panchakanaye dutiyang jnanang kusalatocha vipakatocha kiriyatocha. The second jhana, wholesome, resultant, and functionals of the 5 jhana system in the 5 material sphere. And similarly, we get lokuttara panchakanaye dutiyang jnana kusalatocha vipakatocha. The second jhana, wholesome and resultants of the 5 jhana system in the supramundane sphere. Ettuppanna vicharan tapetva, except sustained application of the mind arising therewith. And that we have described why we exclude the vichara from this term. And now we have another one, vitakkocha, and initial application of the mind. That I will describe in the next slide. And all of these, the second jhana, wholesome, resultant, functionals of the Rūpāvachara sphere, the Lokuttara second jhana, Magga and Phala, and Vitakka from the savitakkasavicārā consciousness. These are the states that are not associated with initial application of the mind, but merely with sustained application of the mind. So first we'll take these 2 phrases, Rūpāvachara panchakanaye dutiyam jnanam and Lokuttara panchakanaye dutiyam jnana. Rūpāvachara refers to fine material sphere and Lokuttara refers to supramundane sphere. The word panchakanaye refers to the 5 jhana system. And as I'm sure you would all remember, there are 2 jhana systems, the 4 jhana system and the 5 jhana system. And it is only under the 5 jhana system that we get the vitakka, only the vitakka being removed. Because under the 4 jhana system, the second jhana has only pīti, sukha and ekaggata. Both vitakka and vichara are removed by the time they come to the second jhana. Therefore, we can't consider the 4 jhana system here. Because we are talking about avitakkavicāramattā, that means whatever ultimate, whatever dhamma that does not have vitakka but has only vichara. So then we need to take the second jhana of the 5 jhana system. That is why specifically it is mentioned here as 5 jhana system, panchakanaye. Dutiyam jhana, the second jhana.
那我们看到刚才呢有提到，特别提到有说在色界的5种禅那分类中的第2禅，另外呢也提到在出世间的5种禅那分类中的第2禅。那为什么这边要特别提到这个5种禅那分类呢？因为我们知道其实呢禅那来说呢有2种分类，一种呢是4种禅那，初禅到第4禅，那另外一种呢就是5种禅那分类，从初禅到第5禅。那如果我们看的是第四种禅那分类的话呢，那4种禅那的分类呢，当他从初禅的寻思喜乐一净性，到了第2禅的时候，就同时呢将寻心所跟思心所呢都已经排除了，只剩下喜乐一净性3种禅智而已。那这样的情况之下呢，这个4种禅那分类就不能够符合我们这边寻三法的要求，因为寻三法呢，我们必须找到这个无寻为师，就是把寻心所呢跟思心所呢分开来考虑，就是没有了寻心所，但是还有思心所。那这样的情况之下呢，我们只能够考虑5种禅那分类，因为在5种禅那分类里面呢，才会有说在初禅呢所有5种禅智都具有，在第2禅呢只是先排除了寻，然后第3禅才排除识，所以这样的情况呢，我们就有出现在5种禅那分类的第2禅呢有这种情况，就是呢没有了寻心所，但是呢还有思心所，所以就是这边的无寻为师法的这个内容。
A quick recap on the 5 jhana system or the pakaraṇa. So here, under first jhana, we get all 5 jhana factors: vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, and ekaggata. Under the second jhana, because vitakka is now no longer there, we get only vichara, piti, sukha, and ekaggata. And this second jhana is what is referred to when it is mentioned as Rupavachara Panchakanaya Dutiyam Jhana and Lokuttara Panchakanaya Dutiyam Jhana. And you must always remember that we get these jhana systems, these subdivisions, only under Rupavachara and Lokuttara Chitta. We don't get Arupavachara Chitta divisions as such, because all the Arupavachara Chitta are 5th jhana, Upekka Ekaggata Chitta. Now we come to the phrase vitakkocha and initial application of the mind. Now this refers to the vitakka arising together with the 55 savitakkasavicārā consciousness. That is the vitakka that was removed or excluded from the first term. So let's look at the 55 vitakka again and see how it is applicable or it fits the second term. Now, again, going back to this previous diagram, we have the savitakkasavicārā consciousness and all the other mental factors. I've taken out vitakka and vichara and put them side by side. So the vitakka and vichara are in association with the consciousness and other mental factors. Therefore, the ultimate realities that are in this oval below are all savitakkasavicārā, dhammā. However, this vitakka has only one, it has a vichara to be associated with. However, there isn't another vitakka for it to be associated with. Therefore, we can describe this vitakka as avitakka, that is without vitakka, but with vichara. So we can call it avitakkaavicāramattā, which is exactly what this second term is, avitakkaavicāramattā. And that is why we excluded these 55 vitakka from the first term. However, because these 55 vitakka fits the description of the second term, we included them under this term. Now this diagram gives us in purple the avitakkaavicāramattā dhammā. So what we get are the Rupavachara and Lokuttara consciousness, and we classify only the second jhana belonging to each of these spheres. So under Rupavachara, we get 3 consciousness. The second jhana, kusala, vipaka and kriya. We get 3 chitta there. And on the lokuttara, we get the second jhana, magga. We get 4 chitta because we have sotapanna, sakadagami, anagami and arahat. And similarly, we get 4 under phala. So they are all second jhana consciousness under rupavachara and lokuttara. In total, we get 11 consciousness. Now, this is a chart that gives a summary of all the analytical states under avitakkaavicāramattā dhammā. So we get 3 rupavachara chitta, the second jhana, kusala, vipaka and kriya. And under supramanden, we get 8 chitta, 4 magga and 4 phala. Again, they are second jhana chitta. And together with these, we get 36 mental factors, and that is excluding vitakka and vichara. And on top of this, we need to add the 55 vitakka, which were associated with the 55 savitakkasavicārā consciousness. Those were the 55 vitakka that we excluded under the first term. Now we come to the final term, avitakkaavicārā dhammā, states that are not associated with both initial or sustained application of the mind. And the word avitakkaavicārā simply means that the dhammas that are associated without vitakka and without vichara are what we consider here. So they are devoid of both vitakka and vichara. Again, the word avitakkaavicārā is formed by combining 2 words, avitakka and avicārā. Avitakka, here we get the prefix a, which gives a negative sense or gives the meaning without. So avitakka means without initial application, and avichara means without sustained application. Therefore, the dhamma here are devoid of both vitakka and vichara. That is why we call them avitakkaavicārā, without initial and sustained application of the mind. Now moving on to the Nikkepa Khandam description, Katame Dhamma Avitakkaavicārā, which are the states without initial and sustained application of the mind. Avitakkaavicārā bhūmiya, arising in soil without initial and sustained application of the mind. And this is with reference to all 4 bhumi. So we get kāmāvachara, rūpāvachara, arūpāvachara, and aparyapanna. And the aggregates are the 4 nama aggregates, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana. We also get all Rupa, Sabbancha Rupa, and Asankatacha Dhatu, unincluded element, which means Nibbana. Now, the Rupa and Nibbana are taken here because naturally they are not consciousness or mental factors. Therefore, they are not associated with vitakka or vichara. So here, if you look carefully at this term, it says avitakkaavicārā, meaning not associated with vitakka or vichara. Therefore, we can include the rupa and nibbana here under this term. So altogether, these are the dhammas or states without initial and sustained application of the mind. And now let's look at the Atthakatha Khandam, the commentary chapter description. Katame Dhamma Avitakkaavicārā, which are the states without initial and sustained application of the mind. Dve pancha vijnānāni, 2 sets of 5 consciousness. Rūpāvachara tika jhana kusalatocha vipakatocha kiryatocha. 3 jhana wholesome resultant functionals of the 4 and 5 jhana systems in the fine material sphere. Chattaro arupa Kusalatocha, Vipakatocha, Krikiriyatocha. The four immaterial sphere wholesome, resultants and functionals. Lokuttara, Tika Tika Jana, Kusalatocha, Vipakatocha. Three jhana, wholesome, resultants. There is this word functionals should be removed here. There's no functionals here. Of the 4 and 5 jhana systems in the supramundane sphere. Panchakanaye dutiye jhane uppannocha vicharo. And sustained application of the mind arising in the second jhana of the 5 jhana system. Rupancha and material form, Nibbanancha and the final state of deliverance. These are the states without initial and sustained application of the mind. Now we'll take each of these one by one and describe them over the next couple of slides. First, we'll take Dve Pancha Vinyanani, 2 sets of 5 consciousness. And this is with reference to the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body consciousness of both the akusala vipaka, the unwholesome resultants, and the ahetuka kusala vipaka, the rootless, wholesome resultants. So these 10 consciousness are called Dve Pancha Vinyanani, 2 sets of 5 consciousness. And I told you before that these consciousness are associated only with the universal mental factors, which are 7 in total. And therefore, they don't have any vitakka or vichara associated with them. Therefore, they are called avitakkaavicārā dhammā. Next, we got these 2 phrases, Rūpāvachara Tika Tika Jhana and Lokuttara Tika Tika Jhana. Here, Tika Tika is, the meaning is 3. And 3, the first 3 would be with reference to the 4 jhana system, and the second 3 is with reference to the 5 jhana system. So for that, to describe that, we will go back to the 2 systems of classifying jhana. So we have the 5 jhana system above and the 4 jhana system below. And now, again, what we are looking at are the avitakkaavicārā dhammā. So under the 5 jhana system, we can't take the first jhana because it has both vitakka and vichara. We can't take the second jhana because although vitakka is eliminated, vichara is still present. But from the 3rd jhana onwards, 3, 4, 5, all 3 of these jhana can be taken, and that is what is meant by this 3 or Tika. And under the 4 jhana system, we can't consider the first jhana because it has both vitakka and vichara. However, from the 2nd to the 4th jhana, both vitakka and vichara are eliminated. So we can take all 3 of these jhanas as well. And that is how we get the Tika Tika jhana, the 3 and 3 jhanas, because we are considering both the 4 jhana system and the 5 jhana system. So this was what we called Rūpāvachara Tika Tika jhana and Lokuttara Tika Tika jhana. Now we go to the next phrase. Panchakanaye dutiye jhane uppannocha vicharo, and sustained application of the mind arising in the 2nd jhana of the 5 jhana system. Now here Panchakanaye means 5 jhana system, dutiya jhana means 2nd jhana. And the sustained application arising in this dutiya jhana, with this dutiya jhana is what is referred to here. And what it really means is that under the 2nd term, avitakkaavicāramattā dhammā, we got 11 dutiya jhana chitta and the associated mental factors. There we excluded 11 vichara because those vichara were, although they were not associated with a vitakka, they were avitakka, they were not vicāramattā because there is only one vichara associated with one consciousness, those vichara were called avitakkaavicārā, which is exactly what this term is, avitakkaavicārā. Therefore, those 11 vichara from the second jhana need to be classified under this third term. So again, here what we have described is why vichara is included under this term. So again, the avitakkaavicāramattā consciousness and other mental factors are associated with vichara. The vichara itself does not have another vichara for it to be associated with. Therefore, we can't call it a vicāramattā mental factor. So how we can describe this vichara is as avitakkaavicārā. And this is why those 11 vichara, which were excluded from the second term, are classified under this term, the third term, avitakkaavicārā dhammā. Now in this diagram, in yellow, we have all the avitakkaavicārā dhammā. So under the kamavachara, the sense sphere plane, we get 10 consciousness. Those are the 10 rootless or ahetuka consciousness. So under akusala vipaka, the first 5, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body consciousness. And again, under ahetuka kusala vipaka, we get 5, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body consciousness. Those 10 were what we called dve pancha viññānāni. 2 sets of 5 consciousness. And then under fine material sphere, we get 9 consciousness. And these are the 3rd, 4th, and 5th jhanas of the 5 jhana system. And if you are considering the 4 jhana system, it will be the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th jhanas. So we get 3 kusala, 3 vipaka, and 3 kriya. So altogether we get 9 rupavachara chitta. Under arupavachara, all 12 are considered because they are all 5th jhana consciousness. So we get 12 consciousness there. And under supramundane, we get 24 out of the 40. And how do we get 20? We get 12 magga and 12 phala. And again, we get the 3rd, 4th, and 5th jhanas from the 5 jhana system, and the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th jhanas from the 4 jhana system. And so we get, now, for example, if you take the 3rd jhana, from the 3rd jhana, we get 4 consciousness, 4 magga chitta. Why do we get 4? Because we have sotapanna, sakadagami, anagami, and arahat. Similarly, we get 4 for the 4th jhana, and again another 4 for the 5th jhana. So the 3 jhanas, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 3 into 4, we get 12 magga. And in the same way, we get 12 phala chitta. And that is how we get the 55 avitakkaavicārā consciousness. So this table summarizes all the analytical states under avitakkaavicārā dhammā. And we get all 4 spheres here, the kamavachara, we get 10, the 5 akusala vipaka, and the 5 ahetuka kusala vipaka. Under rupavachara, we got 9 consciousness, the 3rd, 4th, 5th jhana of the 5 jhana system. So we got 3 kusala, 3 vipaka, and 3 kriya. Arupavachara, we can take all 12 consciousness. And under Lokuttara Supramundane, we got 24. And those were the 3rd, 4th, 5th jhanas of the 5 jhana system. So we got 12 magga and 12 phala consciousness. And 36 chetasika, because vitakka and vichara are excluded here. And we added 11 vichara, which were associated with the 2nd jhana, the 11 avitakkavicāramattā the 11 vichara which were associated with the 11 avitakkaavicāramattā consciousness. And also we got 28 rupa and nibbana. Now I would like to add one more thing here. Now here I said there are 36 cetasika because we are excluding vitakka and vichara. Then in the next line I have mentioned 11 vichara. So you might be wondering why not add those vichara to the 36 and make it 37 cetasika. Now the reason why we cannot do it is because these 36 cetasika that we are talking about in the top line is with reference to all of these consciousness, the 10 kamavachara, the 9 rupavachara, the 12 arupavachara, and the 24 lokuttara chitta. However, these 11 vichara have got nothing to do with these consciousness. They are part of the 11 avitakkaavicāramattā consciousness, which we spoke about under the second term, the avitakkaavicāramattā dhammā, the second jhana consciousness vichara. So because they do not belong to the consciousness that we are talking about here, we need to mention them separately, and we cannot add them to the 36 cetasika to total it up to 37. And that is why we have mentioned them separately. Finally, under the Atthasālinī khandam, it's another paragraph is given. Vitakka sahajato vicharo, the sustained application of the mind, quiescent or rising together with initial application of the mind, navatabbo savitakkasavicārā tipi, avitakkavicāramattā tipi, avitakkaavicārā tipi, should not be stated as with initial and sustained application of the mind, or without initial application but merely with sustained application of the mind, or without initial or sustained application of the mind. So basically what they're telling here is that the vitakka sahajato vicharo. Now under savitakkasavicārā dhammā, we got 55 vichara. And how do we describe those 55 vichara? They had vitakka to be associated with, so they were savitakka. However, they did not have vichara to be associated with, therefore they were avichara. So savitakka avichara. That's how we can describe those 55 vichara of the first, under the first term. And that is what is mentioned here, vitakka sahajato vicharo. These 55 vichara cannot be classified under any of these three terms, because the first term is savitakkasavicārā, which means with vitakka and with vichara. This vichara is with vitakka, but there is no vichara, so it cannot be classified under the first term. It can't be classified under the second and third terms also, because the part savitakka is not given there. It has to be avitakka, savitakka avichara. There is no such term here. Therefore, from this triplet, the 55 vichara that were removed from the first term are not classified under any of the three terms. So again, what I have mentioned here is vitakka sahajato vicharo. This is referring to the vichara, the sustained application of the mind arising in the 55 savitakkasavicārā consciousness. So let's look at this, the 55 vichara again, and see why these vitakka sahajato vicharo are not included in the triplet. Now, the savitakkasavicārā dhammā, the vichara that we got there, are associated with vitakka. However, because each consciousness has only one vichara, it doesn't have another vichara for it to be associated with. Therefore, you can't call it savicārā. We have to call it avichara. So it will be savitakkavicārā. However, in this triplet, there isn't such a term as savitakkavicārā. Because there is no term, we can't classify these 55 vichara under any of the 3 terms that we have. That is why the Vitakka sahajato vicharo are not included in this triplet. Now, the Vitakka Tika is called a sappadesa Tika, a selective or not inclusive triplet, because this triplet does not include all ultimate realities. And as we mentioned in the previous slide, the 55 vichara of the 55 savitakkasavicārā consciousness are not included in this triplet. Therefore, it is called a selective triplet. Yes, so we have come to the end of our Tika. Now, the Vitakka Tika is it's somewhat complicated, and for a first time, it may seem a bit difficult, but actually, if you go through the Vitakka Tika a couple of times, you will find that it's not at all difficult. And don't be disheartened or discouraged thinking that it's difficult. It actually isn't. It's just that you need to go through the terms and go through these 3 terms separately, and just the more you look at it, the more you will understand it. Right. So do you have any questions from what we discussed?
老师说呢，现在呢，就把这个巡山法的内容呢已经教导完毕了。那这个巡山法呢，在相比之下呢，比起其他山法来说，可能是稍微比较复杂一点。那所以对于呢第一次学习的学生来说呢，可能会觉得呢有点困难看起来好像有点复杂。那但是呢老师说，只要呢我们多几次重复的去温习，去再看多几次呢，它其实是不困难的不是呢说很难去理解。只是呢，我们需要更多的时间去再多看逐个法的内容呢，去重新再重温一下，去再复习一下，然后慢慢的多看几次呢，那这个巡山法的内容也变得呢很容易去理解的。所以大家呢不要因此呢觉得灰心，说这个法好像看起来很复杂很难，那其实呢并不如此。所以大家呢只要多看，那多去温习呢，那就自然呢会变得很容易了。那现在呢大家如果有什么问题呢，大家可以提出来发问。
So for homework, I would like you to classify the ultimate realities under the 3 terms, under Kanda, Ayatana, Dhatu, and such, the same exercise that we have been doing for the previous Tika, and we can have a discussion of that later on. Right, so the next lesson will be on the 8th of September. And since there are no questions, we will take the time to share merits.
我们下堂课呢会在下个月9月8号然后呢现在大家一起来分享功德。
And I would like you to join along with the sharing of merits.
老师说，请大家呢也可以开声音跟老师一起呢一起念这个分享功德。
Akhasattha ca Bhummattha Deva Naga Mahittika Punyantana Sudetva Chiran Rakkantu Sasana Chiran Rakkantu Desana Chiran Rakkantu Mampara Akhasattha Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo Imina punya kame na mam pala satan sama idam me punyang asavakaya ohahotu idam me nibbana sapachayo hotu mama punya bhagam sabba sattanam bhajemi te sabbe me samam punya bhagam labantu. Uttasāsanam chiram tittatu. Uttasāsanam chiram tittatu. Uttasāsanam chiram tittatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.